Alright, well, we got this new welder. Let's take a look at what's in the box. I'll open it all up, put it all on this little table. I know it's kind of dirty. We're actually working right now. Okay, we got an all metal feed system. Look at the link in the description for the price. It's cheaper than anything. Nothing like this compares at Harbor Freight. It is cheaper and better than the welders that are comparable in the price range this one is. I don't think there is anything like this. This is a gas MIG welder and the price is unbelievable. So, and let's look here. I've got another roll of wire for it. This thing only takes, the smallest it takes is 0.030. We're going to try to weld sheet metal with it and see if it does it. So I got a full spool of that. We're going to put it on gas. We're not going to do flux core. We know it will do that way better, way better than the MIG 125. You guys, those MIG 125s over at Harbor Freight, you know, you got like, I don't know, they kind of braze metal. They don't really weld. The weld lands on top. It does some penetration, but I've had a lot of problem with those things making the welds really well. I mean, yeah, I can get it to work, but not like one of these. This is way easier and just better. I was just doing some test welding with it, and this ground is so short. It's only maybe 1 meter, and that's one of the things you'll want to change on this thing. So I just used my one for my AHP. It's the same. This is, I think, around maybe just a hair less than 13 millimeter this end. So you can order one of those. They're not expensive. $10, $20, something like that. I'm still playing around with the settings because I don't quite get it, but I got them at 15.7 and 38 right now. And it seems to butt weld sheet metal pretty well. I mean, with 0.030 wire or 0.8 millimeter, I don't think there's any need for the 0.6 for this thing. I had no trouble with it at all. In fact, I can hold it on there a little bit longer than the other welder that I was using earlier. I was using that little tiny one next to it. You can see how small that is next to this one. I mean, they're both very small, but I was using the other Vevor one there. It's really super cheap and it's really easy to learn your settings. This one's going to be a little bit more difficult than that, but I butt welded in a few things here. I'm going to start butt welding this piece in, and I had no trouble. It was not wanting to burn through at all. And this is what's this, electro galvanized, so it's a little harder to weld. And this thing just does it like butter. So anyway, and that's with those settings right there. I'm still dialing it in. I know I can. You'll notice when you turn the settings, I kind of remember where I'm at here. If you turn this one, you notice the 38. Well, you can turn that one quite a bit without that other one changing. But then you'll notice when you get so far, if you could go way, maybe it's on manual. I have it on manual. So I have it right now on, so that's kind of cool. You can put it on manual, so you don't have to worry about synergic stuff. Synergic is kind of helpful, but let me see if we can change it to that. Let's see. MIG pulse. I don't know what that is yet. And then there's flux core. What's the other one? I can't read that. I don't have my reading glasses on. Let me put them on. Oh, TIG. Lift TIG. I don't use that. So MIG manual is what I got on. 0.8 2T. I had it on, but you guys remember better than me because I 15.7 and what was it, about 44, somewhere in there, something like that. And I know I can tighten it up better than what I've got right now, so I'll just play around with it as I'm using it. But it really welds really nicely. So it does have 2 knobs. So I think this is wire speed, and I think but it says amps A, so I don't know, whatever. Or it's at 15.7. I tried heating it up a little bit more. It seemed to like about right where it is. 15.7. Tried it colder. It was a little, didn't work quite as good. Well, I like it a little bit, tiny bit hot when I'm butt welding, even though it'll burn more. But this one doesn't seem to do that at all. So let's just do some more welding here. I'll have you guys watch along and see what you guys think. I think it's pretty neat. I mean, for the price, you can't. They don't have anything, nothing at Harbor Freight for that price range, nothing. So if you're going to go to, I mean, the people go, oh well, Vevor doesn't have as good a warranty and all that. You know, listen, when it's half the price of, I mean, really, you're going to worry about a warranty? I don't think there's any issue. I've had this other Vevor unit here for a while that I took down because they don't sell it anymore, and it's been great. This one here has been really good, and it's really cheap. This MIG 130, great welder to learn with. Has one knob, and then it has this second knob is just to kind of manipulate the first one a little bit, but it's basically a one knob welder. So if you're brand new to welding, you won't want to check out that one. But if you're wanting something a little bit better, this one here is definitely one that on the list. I'm going to say it's pretty cool. All right, check this out. Let me clean this up real quick and let's look at it. Well, guys, I got to tell you, that's pretty amazing right there. Those buttons there, I mean, that's not bad for 0.030 or 0.8 millimeter wire. I did get a little burny. I'm just not used to it yet. I haven't. Right, we're going to try some thick steel, plus another thing I want to show you that I figured out on this machine. Of course, the ground is really super short, so I'm going to be using the ground for my other machine. But what I did find out is the ground, or the electrode on this is a lot longer. So if you're not going to use your thing to hold your electrode for your stick welder, which I'm not going to probably ever stick weld, there's no reason for me to, you can take this thing apart and put a new end on it and use this so you have a longer ground. This is about 2 meters, the other one's about 1 meter, so it's kind of short. But you can just take this and plug it in. If it plugs in the same thing. Look here. And then you can take this here and either just put it on the metal. That's what I'm going to do right now. And what I've been doing usually is I'll just take my ground from this machine because it's longer. So that's a way to solve that. But you can change this end over. You just need a little one of those eyelet things to put on the handle, which I ordered some of those. Or you can buy a brand new ground for it, and they're not cheap. They're not expensive, super cheap. So there's those options there to kind of overcome if you don't like the short ground this thing has. But then the ground is a little bit short, so it's not a big deal. It's just something you could just switch this around. Again, you could just use this as your ground. You could. It doesn't clamp very good though, so you could just change this over to, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to eyelet on there and change it over. And it solves that issue. So anyway, let's try some thick sheet metal or thick steel. We're going to use we're going to go and weld up these two thick ones here. It's a little thicker steel. It's like 1/8 inch. I think it's a little bit thinner than 1/8 inch. And we're just going to go over it. And this time I'm going to try this pulse thing and see how that works. Because I want to know how that works. And we're going to try it on dirty a little bit, and then we'll try some with the pulse, and we'll see what we like. And we're going to weld these two here together. I think I've got some even thicker steel. I'm sure I won't have any problem welding that. That was on pulse. I don't know what the hell it does, but it just sounds kind of weird. But it seemed to melt this steel like nothing. I didn't make the prettiest looking welds, of course. I don't claim to be like a art welder or something like that. I'm just trying to show you that this thing melts the steel very well. That will hold. And I'm going to turn it off pulse, and we'll try it on the other side. Maybe I'll flip this over. We'll try it over there. Oh, a hole right there. Alright, so my problem is, again, I can't see very good when I just don't see very good now, unless I'm right up close, and I have to have my reading glasses on. I didn't have them on. It's my fault, so I burned a hole in it. But you can see that it melted both of the surfaces. I don't know, it seemed to work a little bit better on pulse. I don't know what that does, but you could play around with that. That's kind of cool. And I'm at 2186 on 110 volt. So look at how far this thing goes up. It goes up to 30. I think that ought to weld some pretty thick steel. And then you can take this one up to 120. So yeah, this thing, I barely had it turned up, and I burned a hole right through that. Just burned right through it. Crazy. Again, I'm showing you guys I'm welding rusty steel. This is not cleaned. Any welder, I mean, even a crappy welder will weld clean steel. And when it's rusty, it's got to be a decent welder, or it's just not going to cut through it. So if you had something that wasn't clean, this thing would still do it. I mean, that thing's held on there great. I mean, I'll probably have trouble getting that off. All right, guys. Had to cut a hole in that. The weld went all the way through this, penetrated all the way through that, and look, I mean, it penetrated through that too. That's just nuts. I mean, that's obviously too hot. I had the heat up too high. But the main thing I'm trying to show is this thing has enough heat to weld some very thick steel. Let's take this 3/16 and we'll just throw a bead right along here. Hopefully I'll get a good connection around. But let's put a bead right across here and see how it looks. I'd say that's really, I mean, a little bit over wire speed, but plenty of heat. And look where I was at on the settings. It's at 2289. So, I mean, I can go all the way to 30. This thing would probably weld some really thick steel, really thick. So it's done butt welded sheet metal. We penetrated all the way through this. Maybe I can dial it in a little bit more. Maybe we'll get a little bit better weld on here just for fun. And went all the way through that into this. I mean, it ruined my sheet metal, which is a drag, but oh well. It's kind of fun to show this stuff. This thing's pretty neat. This is a great welder, actually. I can't believe this for the price. See, I dialed back the settings. We'll look at them in a second. And look at that. Nice melted bead. Nice and smooth. Nice and creamy, actually. Could probably clean that off and you'll see the little bit of slag on the edge of it. It's popping off right now. And it'd probably look nice. Really clean looking bead. And we're at 1872, and that's 1/8 inch. Almost 1/8 inch. A little bit less. It's like 100 thou. I think this is 100 thou. Wow, great welder. I mean, I don't know what more I can show you guys. If you can't look at that, if you look at that price and you think, you know, you can do it, I would say this is probably one of the best value welders I've reviewed yet. I've reviewed a lot of them so far because this one does sheet metal. It does these things on 0.030, which then you have to change your wire over. You can go from really thick steel, probably weld close to 1/2 inch steel with this thing. It might take a couple passes. I'm not going to say it's going to weld right, penetrate all the way into 1/2 inch. I would do multiple passes. Anything you do that thick, you're going to do more than one pass. And you probably get pretty good. You know, if you're going to do that, maybe you also want to go with stick welding, which it comes with that. So stick welding is going to get, like if you're welding thick 1/2 inch steel, I always go to stick for that because it really gets a lot hotter even than this. But this thing, I mean, most everything else, frame, I could weld with this. But yeah, I don't see any issues with this welder at all. In that other feature, if I got to use that, you can see the slag popping off of there. Probably looks really nice under there. But I think if I got that other feature dialed in, it'd probably be kind of neat too, because then it's supposed to make it look more like stacked dimes. So it'll probably do that too. Almost like a TIG weld with a MIG welding machine. Pretty cool. Very cool machine. I would say this one here is definitely probably one of the best ones I've reviewed yet. In addition to that, on the Vevor Amazon, you can also get one of these 220 extension cords. So if you were looking at a plasma cutter or a welder, you can get one of these 50-foot extension cords. I'll put a link in the description. They really have the best price on these. I remember these things being hundreds of dollars at Home Depot or one of the big box stores. And on Amazon with Vevor, they're very inexpensive, less than half probably of that. And really good if you're going to use a plasma cutter or welder. Plasma cutter, you got to have 220. And this welder here, when you're welding thick steel, you're going to want 220 hooked up to it. So having one of those extension cords is a must. Yeah, and the best value, now one of the best welds, right up there with the Cinder and the Arc Captain, and literally about half the price. Just the biggest pet peeve is it doesn't come with a ground, a good ground. The long ground is not there. You're gonna have to get a longer ground. The ground's just too short, and it does not come with a gas regulator, so you have to put your own on there and figure that priced in, and it's still cheaper than anything out there, and definitely way better than anything anything in Harbor Freight. This beats the titanium 140 hands down. I would say it beats the next one up from that, to the 2170, I think. Definitely beats that one. And it's half the price or less. So anyway, check the link in the description. I'll talk to you in the next one. Please like, share, and subscribe.